We are recording. Ladies and gentlemen of the Budget Board.
Call the meeting to order, 7 o'clock. And let's see, we got approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, if I may add an item prior to item A under new business. As you are all well aware, I failed to appoint you as appointed members of the Budget Board. The Board of Selectmen did that on March 10th. Therefore, you are all sworn in now, and what we'll need to do is validate the vote that you took on March 5th. Just en masse, a general validation of the items that you have already voted on to make, just if it's ever called into question by the auditors, you have been sworn in and you now can vote.
Okay, can we move that because we still have to approve the agenda?
Well, that's, I have to add that to the agenda, then you approve it as amended.
Well, I mean the minutes, because officially they can't approve the minutes.
Right.
Because they were.
But you have to approve it. You can do whatever you want, Madam Chair. I'm just saying you're going to approve the agenda. The agenda has to be added, this item.
Right, we'll approve the agenda, but then we have the minutes.
Yeah.
I prefer to get it done before the minutes.
Oh, no, absolutely. I'm just adding it to the agenda so that as you approve the agenda, you approve it as amended, then you do the minutes.
Okay.
Sorry.
We'll do the last budget.
Yep.
Then, just so I'm clear.
Yeah, so you're clear. You're going to approve the agenda as amended with, so you'll have new business.
Yep.
Before final budget board review, you will do validate vote for 3-5.
Right.
You'll approve the agenda like that, and
Right.
then you'll do the minutes. First, you'll do the minutes. After you approve the agenda, you'll do the minutes, then you'll do the old vote, then you'll start with the new stuff.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter if we do the, okay, we'll do it in that order then.
Approve the agenda as amended, please.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the agenda as described by
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Okay,
Now you can do the minutes, no?
yes. I'm gonna make my own notes. Okay, approval of the minutes of March 5th, 2014. And to me, they look great. They're well detailed.
Thank you.
I've tried to hire him several times to do it on a part-time basis, and he refuses.
Really?
So we'll just keep putting him on committees that he left.
You should see the payroll he's offering.
And I thank you, John, for your very thorough minutes. I really do appreciate it.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
Second. I would abstain because I wasn't here.
Okay. All those in favor? Yes. Passes. Okay, then we'll do, under new business, we're going to go and review, make an approval of everything that we passed at the last meeting. So if somebody would like to make a motion to do that.
I'll move that we validate all of the votes that we took at the March the 5th meeting.
I can second that. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
I did.
Melanie, sorry, yes.
And so we're going to review the rest of the finalists, hopefully the rest of the budget.
Yes, if you don't mind, we'll start with recreation, since Jennifer is here. I'm sure she'd like to go home or somewhere. I have some information. Jen can explain it much better than I can. Mr. Foley has rectified the situations that we were fighting about. It's my understanding that Mrs. Dumas's recommendation will be to allow the funds to go into the general fund for the 2013-14 fiscal year, and for the 14-15 fiscal year to use $5,000 to implement the program. As I said, they finally ironed out all the bugs. the system is going to work the way I want, but Jen, if you don't mind, please answer any questions there may be.
Yeah, sure, I can answer any questions. I did meet with him this week. Earlier this week, I was able to meet with Ray Foley and some other people that use the MyRec software, because I was at a rec conference, and the software glitched, which held me back from implementing that this year, has been fixed. You have new software people update it, and I was able to try it out and see how it works, and it looks like it's going to suit our needs at this point. So I held off on for this year because I didn't think the town could pay money for something that wasn't going to meet our needs. But now that the software update has taken place, I feel confident that we'll do the job for us.
And it was just the online registration, that was a separate module that is free.
It is, the user fees would pay for that. If somebody chooses to pay online, they would pay a 3% fee
Okay.
on whatever they are paying, and that would take care of the credit card fees, the online fees.
Okay, so the 5,000 is still in the budget.
Yes, it is.
And those fees can't be taken care of prior to this budget cycle?
Well, we could certainly pay for it this budget cycle, but it's there are annual fees anyway. After the first year, it's about $5,000, and after that, after the first year, there are some one-time fees associated with the implementation. After that, it goes down to about $3,900 a year. And we could, but the process of implementing new software takes time, which I don't have this time of year. So if we were to implement it now, it wouldn't be able to be put into full effect until fall. Fall is the time of year when I have time to do something like that. November and December was my goal, and then as we began to set it up in November and December, basically he sets it up so that I can play with it and see how it works. And there was one particular, it's a big issue for us that their software didn't address, and I said, you know, it's a deal killer. I can't pay the money for something that has such a huge issue like that. So we had a software people update the software now that it meets our needs, but I don't really have time to implement it at this point. So the money goes back into the general fund, but it's not being spent on something that we won't be using until fall, which seems to be the lesser of two evils to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically what you're saying is if you pay for it now, you go through this season without using it anyway.
Correct.
Doesn't make a lot
Or
of
at
sense.
least to its full extent, because I really wouldn't
Yeah.
have time to delve into it
Yeah.
at this point.
And is that included on this budget?
It is in the line, communications line, there's $6,800, $1,800 of that is for communications, and the additional $5,000 is for the software program.
I'm just going to say my thoughts. Because, you know, it was supposed to be a one-time thing. There weren't any other fees associated with it as presented last year. And it just seems like, you know, the more we delve into it, the more, I mean, it was supposed to help, and it was only supposed to be a one-time fee.
Never was it a one-time fee.
I actually have it written in my, I noted it in my last year's budget cycle. I don't know if I have it. And it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't even matter. But I guess, I'm disappointed that that happened, you know, and,
Disappointed that, I guess I'm confused, disappointed that the software didn't meet the needs? Because I certainly was too,
Yeah.
when we were in the process of implementing it this fall, and then I discovered that one of the major reasons I wanted this software wasn't going to be able to be addressed by the software, I was certainly very disappointed too. And he said, well, we'll just implement it now, and then in time, we'll get it taken care of, but at least you can get it started. And I said, no,
Right.
no, I'm not going to spend the town's money on something that's not going to meet this major need that we have. And it took him some time to get it addressed with software people. And now that it has been addressed, it's looking like something good again. But there was just no way I was going to spend the money. I certainly was as disappointed as you seem to be in a software system that I was led to believe would meet our needs and then wasn't going to.
Okay, I guess from my standpoint, we budgeted it last year, the money didn't get used. And I see a reasonable solution to it, and I don't know if you're gonna agree to this or not, or would see it as an option for compromise. But if we take, appropriate the $209,376 for the recreation department, but $5,000, reduce that by $5,000 and have that come out of the undesignated fund, because that's where that money actually went.
If I can't do a dedicated revenue transfer. I can make a note in the use of the undesignated fund balance that 5,000 of that is coming from the unused portion of the rec department budget, and make a note of that in the town meeting warrant, but I can't directly appropriate those funds from the general fund. So in essence, the same thing, but it would be indicated in the town meeting warrant that that's where those funds are coming from.
That 5,000 would come from the
That would be, I think, a little more convoluted for the auditors too.
Yeah.
Because the auditors like to see everything that's left goes over here.
Yeah.
And then you appropriate what you need for the year.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're doing it the same thing in a way, except the auditor's way is cleaner. In other
Right, I
words,
just
that
don't like
5,000
doing
goes
that.
back.
I don't want to have to reappropriate taxes. I mean, I paid my taxes last year. I don't want to pay for it all over again, even though.
You're not paying for it all over again. The money never got spent. It's going back into the general fund.
It goes, yes, but it just sits there and does nothing.
Yeah, but it's not costing you anymore.
It doesn't,
Well, it's
it's
gonna
not
cost
doing
me more
nothing,
than
it's
this.
being used to
If the
reduce.
$5,000 wasn't in this budget, we wouldn't be taxed on that $5,000.
It's gonna cost the $5,000 this year, no matter how you try to categorize it.
Yeah.
She saved us $5,000 this year because she didn't pay for a computer program which wasn't gonna do the job.
Yeah.
Now that the program's been changed and it will do us some good next year, I think we should approve the item in next year's budget.
And that's the way the auditors would want it done.
Yeah.
Because we will use, when it comes down to the final budget, we will use, is it so much from the undesignated
Yes, we will.
that will actually get used to help reduce these funds? So in a way, what you're asking for is going to get done,
Yeah.
but it's going to get done according to general accounting principles. So yes, we're taking $5,000 out and putting it in our left pocket, and then we're appropriating $5,000 to put in our right pocket. So the same thing is being accomplished, but by doing it this way, it is being done according to the correct accounting principles.
I'd like to move that we approve the recreation budget for $209,376 as outlined in the budget proposal.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there a discussion?
What puzzles me, we've got one kid in school that just started this year. You're looking to get 209,000. Why is this program not supporting itself? How come?
Well, that $209,000 doesn't include the revenue that comes in.
It doesn't what?
It doesn't include the revenue that comes in.
I realize that. You want 209,000 on top of whatever else you got coming in, is what I'm seeing.
No,
No, she doesn't get the revenue that comes in. The town general fund gets the revenue.
And her expenses come out of the general fund?
Actually, the net expense, if we pass the rec bus for the capital equipment expenses, the net expense to the taxpayer is $82,559.
That's the total for tax?
That's the total tax,
Yeah.
including the rec bus if we appropriate money for that.
What's wrong with that bus now?
We're not there yet. That's on a separate one. So,
Which is less than what it actually costs for the employees for the program. So some of the costs of that program do cover some of the costs for their employees. And she can't start a new program without that program paying for itself. So she has programs that she takes care of that actually cover part of the expenses for employees' wages.
Call me stupid, I don't understand it.
We won't call you names, right?
Huh?
We won't call you names, right?
Y'all can think it.
Everybody's entitled to their
is there any further discussion?
I have a couple of things.
Sure.
Last year, we came pretty close to covering our costs because the revenues exceeded expectations. I don't remember the exact amount, do you, Todd?
I do not.
7,000 was maybe the grand total that the rec department cost the town, something close to that. And the other thing was, I wonder if anybody else feels misled that I had said this is a one-time fee for this software and there was not going to be any further expenses after that, because that was never my intent. I looked at Todd and he shook his head and said, no, I don't recall you ever saying. We knew that there were annual expenses that went with this. I think Dave asked me that
Yeah,
specifically
I remember, I
last
do
year.
remember, but
And I told him that there would certainly be annual fees, but they would be less than the initial. Initially, there were some fees that you only have to pay one time. But I hope that nobody feels like I misled anyone, because that was certainly not my intent. That must have been a misunderstanding on your part. It definitely was always going to cost money annually for this software.
Yeah, I think it was like I did have it written down as a one-time fee.
There are some one-time fees, but not always.
I don't have
I don't know, it was last year, so I don't know, you don't need to be so specific.
I just don't want anyone to be under the impression that I did anything to mislead someone.
I think, right. I guess I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of approving the recreation budget at $209,376. All those opposed? And I'm sorry.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And it passes. Okay.
We do revenue next, Madam Chair? Revenue, if you would? Or do you want to go to reserves and
I'd
debt?
like to go to reserves and debt and just finish that whole piece up.
All right, go ahead.
Just very quickly,
Yes.
I don't have the revenue.
Yeah?
I was wondering if you email that to me. Can you email that?
You don't have the revenue page?
No, I don't.
I have-
I don't think so.
I think I just gave you one. Are you working off your old one right now, Sean? Or you
I'm
doing
just
one?
working off of what was handed off tonight.
Okay, yeah, right, top shelf. Top shelf, there's.
Oh, there it is. Okay, never mind. Blind one eye, can't see out the other.
I'm right there with you, so.
Do you have an extra copy of?
I most certainly do.
Do I? Maybe I do. That's Rogers. I was,
You got them upside down.
Or is it in here?
This is the revenue here, and then the reserves and debt are in the back.
Where,
Okay.
This is, unfortunately, reserve and debt starts there.
It's there.
That's what we do next, and then we flip that to the revenue.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Maybe I had it, that's why I didn't see it.
Okay, so we'll start off with the reserves and debt and the road projects. I actually, I was, and I actually have a handout, I was looking at last year, Roger gave us this year's expenses last year for something forward thinking and what we were really, like, what we were looking at last year, and a lot of those projects are on there. And with the horrible winter that we had with all the heaving, and it really made it clear and evident to me that this cold Maine winters are not just gonna go away. So I put together, and I was trying to figure out, based on what Roger had gave, as to what we were gonna get for the $450,000. So, and I'm sure you I don't know, maybe we should give Donald one.
You can make another copy if you need one.
No?
It's Rogers.
Yeah.
This is Melody for you.
Actually, I did have some communication with Roger, and did you see those emails?
I did. I saw an email.
An email from Roger. I thought I brought it. Did you guys get my email that I had asked Todd for the questions about the roads? I had sent Todd an email after further review of the reserves and debt section of the budget. I had a few more questions. And Roger actually responded to my questions. And I brought the emails just in case anybody wanted to review what was said in the email, or I can read it, or would you like me to read it?
Sure.
I hope this helps. Here goes. Boughton Road from Limerick Road to Bergeron was reclaimed and paved at $164,497.26. New road shimmed and overlay at $114,930. Sinnott Road from Old Post to Milligan's Way shimmed and overlay $58,961.90. Curtis Road from Irving Road to Kennebunk River shimmed and overlaid $66,976.12 for a total of $405,365.31. The shoulders were also re-gravelled in that price. There was some culvert replacement on each of these roads and some culvert relining as well for approximately $50,000, and some shim work in several of our worst areas for another $15,000. This is about $47,365.31 with my numbers, which does not include some riprap or erosion control blankets, grass seeds, some gravel, and other minor stuff. Everything spent on road construction is available in the report from Rebecca if that is necessary. There is some minor prep work needed on Proctor Road before it can be reclaimed and paved. One culvert and some ditch work should do it. All the road projects are by priority, but some of the culvert relining could be shifted around depending on our final funding amounts. And feel free to email me if there are any further questions and things, Frank. So I thought his email is very informative, because one of my questions in my email was, these projects, were they in priority order, and which they are. And his email is very telling, because he does, with the amounts of money that we are budgeting and funding for him at, he's really doing a lot of shifting with the work. So I just thought it was really, after getting this and knowing what the conditions of our roads were, is what had prompted me to do this, to see what we were actually getting for our money, just to, have it here in black and white to see, and I don't know what he's going to, choose to do if we give him, appropriate the $450,000, and if that's even approved at town meeting. But I think it's just, I thought it was interesting to see what he's working with and how he is going to do it. And I've been looking at it for a couple of years, so I guess, and it's just, the roads piece is never, ever going to go away. And the more, as time goes on with neglect of some of these roads, the repairs and the maintenance end up going up and costing more. So I guess I wanted to share that with the board, and I think it's important that we look at these kinds of things, because it's forward thinking into the future. It's just increasing our taxes if we don't fund. So, and I don't even know, if we used undesignated funds to get some of these projects done, what does that look like? What does that do?
That,
and I think there again, we're going to run into the same problem as we just did with the recreation department and accounting purposes. But how do we really grapple this? And because we've been trying to do it, and looking at last year's and what Roger gave us last year and going into this year, and those numbers have changed and roads being put up. I don't know. We all use the roads. All of our
What are you
roads.
suggesting, Melanie? What are you getting at here?
I guess I prefer to fund the roads, because it's just going to increase taxes later on if we
Okay,
don't.
are you suggesting that we
But-
increase this figure? Is that your point?
Potentially, yes. I gave different options. We have Roger's proposal that he gave, and 1 through 9. If we do all of the 9 road projects, it's going to be $576,948. Now, how can we do that without increasing taxes? We can't.
Don't think
No. And so I gave other options and other scenarios in the table. I guess, what are we going to feel comfortable doing? I can't with good conscience not just fund. I can't with good conscience fund the $450,000. I really realistically think it needs to be more to get some of these projects going. And
The personal feeling is that when it comes to an item like Public Works, there is really never enough money to do it all.
right.
And I think taxpayers, if they get a tax increase, are probably going to scream bloody murder. I think that $450,000 that's proposed in this budget is a lot of money.
It is.
And
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
absolutely.
we're in a position where, unless we want to increase taxes, we have to tell Public Works Department, do what you can with that $450,000. If 100% of what they would like to do doesn't get done this year, it's just going to have to wait till next year. I don't think you're going to find too many people in town who are going to be thrilled about a tax increase, to make sure that all these road projects are done. That's just my feeling.
I don't think there's too many people in town that are gonna jump up and say hooray for raising taxes.
I know.
That's
But I really realistically just wanted everybody to see, what that $450,000 is going to do. And
I don't think anybody is kidding himself that it's going to do 100% of what Roger would like to do, but I think you have to draw a line somewhere and say, look, this is what we can give you to work with this year.
Yep.
Do what you can with it, and I'm sure he'll do the best he can. And if a couple or 3 of these projects have to wait until next year, I don't think that's uncommon for an awful lot of towns in Maine.
Yeah, you going over only 3 projects. 3, 4, 5 projects we get done.
You know, there's a lot of towns in Maine that are filing bankruptcy simply because of taxes going up. People can't pay it.
What are your thoughts?
I'm kind of along with you, the more that these these cold winters, the frosties, I mean, yeah, we do certainly have quite a bit of, some of the best roads around here. Some of the roads that, I traveled, going to, have you guys driven Route 5 in Waterboro? It's a disaster.
Yeah, it is.
And if we don't, my feeling is kind of with you, if we don't fund, a little bit more, I personally think we should increase this a little bit. These roads have taken a beating, especially this winter. It's not gonna let up. I thought I wish, we could say, increase it with the notion of, with telling Roger, say, yes, we will increase, but these are the roads that have to get done in priority, but unfortunately we can't do that. But I personally think that we should, increase it a little bit.
Sean, what are your thoughts?
No, it doesn't show it on here, but prior to 2012, so it was on here. The budget for the roads was $350,000 thereabouts. We've already did one increase, or a couple increases up to $500,000, kind of backed down to a little bit, but I still think that it's doing a lot better than the $350,000. In light of everything that's going on with the RSU, we still don't know what's going to be happening with that, with their new proposals. I think $450,000 is a good point. Granted, yeah, we could increase it, but I think we need to treat the taxpayers with a little bit more respect, and instead of gouging them.
And it's, well, either get them now or get them later. I mean, that's really, because these roads, it's just not going to go away. It's not. And how do, I mean, if we have another Maine winter like this, it's,
Well, like what I said in the last meeting, the roads in Arundel are a lot better than a lot of the roads that I have to travel. As soon as you hit the Arundel town line, whether it be into Kennebunk Port, Lyman, Bedford, they all go to hell in a handbasket as soon as you cross the town line. I think the roads are, what Roger's doing is doing a good job. I don't see where there's, a huge necessity to increase the budget over the $450,000. That's my opinion.
I'd like to move that we approve the budget for $450,000 as proposed.
can we just do the reserves and debt all as one?
No,
Or do
I
we
would
have to do
rather
it
have
one
them
by one?
individually, because we'll have the warrant article and it'll be listed individually on the warrant.
Okay,
articles.
we'll do it that way then. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay. So motion, okay, is any more discussion? No? All right. And all those in favor of road projects reserved for $450,000? Opposed? Okay, Public Works equipment, $50,000.
That's to rebody a truck.
Body.
I don't remember the truck number. Same situation we did last year, but last year we had to dip into the reserve because we appropriated $20,000 and the body of that truck was $49,000. This year the body of the truck is $49,995. So we're asking for an appropriation of $50,000 to give that truck potentially another entire life's worth of plowing the roads here in Arundel. Mileage is very low on the truck, considering it's a diesel, and it's very well taken care of. It's just that the bodies rust right out from under those trucks. So frame's in good shape, truck's in good shape mechanically. This will give it an additional approximately 6 years of life, as opposed to the $175,000 it would cost to replace the truck.
I'll make a motion to approve the public works equipment for $50,000.
I'll second that.
Is there discussion? All those in favor? Passes. Fire department capital equipment.
That is to continue replenishing the reserve for the fire department. This year, it's my understanding that Goodwin's Mills, Waterboro, and Kennebunk are going out for an RFP for ambulances. We would like to join in on that. The ambulance is getting up there in age. Repairs are getting more costly, and the reason for that capital reserve is typically, has been intended for a replacement ambulance. That is our intention. Just Monday night, the town did vote in favor of the CMP utility TIF district for the town of Arundel, which would allow us to appropriate funds, dedicated funds, for a brush truck, a UTV, and in phase 2, a frontline attack pumper, which would take care of several of the apparatus needs at the fire department, but it will not cover a rescue, and that rescue will need to be replaced. As of right now, the rescue is bringing in approximately $110,000 a year for the fire department. And it is, as anyone will tell you, an insurance policy, because if we didn't have an ambulance in town, it'd be quite a bit more response time when someone needs it. That's my 2 cents on the $50,000.
That will in turn actually increase people's property taxes without there being an ambulance service.
Yeah, there's an ISO rating
Well,
that would go up.
I know it's with the fire department, if you don't have a fire department station or substation nearby.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking also that if you don't have ambulance services.
That I don't know the premium on that. I would assume that a town gets better ratings if there is an ambulance, but I can't verify that without research.
How much will this put in our reserve for the ambulance?
We have $156,370.
Yeah, and there's an additional $40,000 going this year. Where's the ambulance? Why can't I read right now?
I have it right here. Is it the
Fire
same one?
department, right there, fire department capital equipment. It's 156, so after this year, there will be 196, and then after this budget is
So
approved,
246.
246, we're looking at approximately 170 plus or minus for the ambulance. So we'll be able to purchase that ambulance at the end of the close of this year, because those funds will be deposited. They're in the operating budget, but for accounting purposes, we don't close out those reserve accounts till the end of the fiscal year, so those funds will be placed into the reserve accounts.
By paying outright.
We could purchase the ambulance outright.
Yeah, but that would also would that possibly save us money?
Purchasing the ambulance outright.
But by telling, whoever we purchased the ambulance from, it's like, look, we got a check right here for the full amount.
Absolutely, it will do that. It will also avoid the approximately 2% interest fee that is on a lease purchase. That would be for 3 to 5 years, and the approximate 4% interest rate on a bond that we might have to go out for. So yes, there may be savings there by telling them we will be paying for this with a check, and then we're avoiding the interest costs on any other kind of payments.
I'll make a motion to approve the fire department capital equipment.
I'm going to go ahead and second that motion.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I believe I have to abstain.
Yes,
Yep.
David does have to abstain. That's for
David abstains, so passes. Park and Rec Bus Reserve for $5,000.
That is just to continue funding. We were lucky, Phil Labby found us a relatively inexpensive bus. Didn't cost very much to get it up and running. We rely heavily on that bus for the rec programs and the revenues that are pulled in. And the reason for this account is to hopefully someday be able to have Phil find us another bus that's in great shape that we can get inexpensively. I don't believe that we'll ever reach the level of purchasing a brand new bus at about $80,000, I think that bus is going to have to run for a really long time, Jennifer, for us to get to that point. But that's the intent of the request.
What do you have for a balance?
And then rec bus reserve, there is $4,151.87. $4,147.65.
It doesn't make sense because we put 5,000 into it last year.
No, I think you had told me more like 6,000 or 7,000.
So last year we didn't put 5,000. Last year it was turned down at town meeting.
No, I think it was the year
Oh,
before that.
no,
it
I'm
was
sorry.
down.
The year before, it was turned down, but
I'm
according to
sorry,
this.
so yes, there's 4,151.87 plus the 5,000 that's gonna go in from, similar to the ambulance, I apologize. So at the end of this fiscal year, there'll be 9,100 change with interest because of the 5,000 that's been appropriated for this fiscal year.
Mhm.
If this amount gets appropriated for the proposed fiscal year, then there would be about $14,000 in that account. So currently, there's 4,151. After this year, that additional 5,000 will be added to bring us to 9,200 approximately with interest, and then an additional request for $5,000.
So bring that account up to 14,000.
Yes. And that bus that you have now, Jen, all told, we paid about $8,000 to get that bus up and running.
Yep. But when we were looking at other
There were
similar buses that really needed quite a bit of work done to them, same year, same mileage, that sort of thing, we were looking in the $12,000 to $15,000 range to purchase the bus, and then there would have needed to be money put into them to bring them up to par, get them on the road.
We lucked out,
Yes, we did.
because the one bus we were looking at was $10,000 plus 12,000, plus the repairs, so.
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead with $5,000 for the bus, the Parks and Rec bus reserve.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I guess this is my own education. Why can't we, why the rec department, why can't we use regular school bus? I understand it's part of the RSU, but since we are part of the RSU, why can't we use a school bus?
Well, that was what we used to do,
Yeah.
but we were limited. We weren't able to run half-day trips because they were using their buses
Oh,
still
okay.
for the high schoolers. And if, I've added some preschool trips and
Yeah.
things like that we can't access buses for during the school year. We do use RSU 21 buses during the summer in addition to our own.
Oh, okay.
We use a couple more in the summer, but the rest of the school year, they're not available. because they're
Okay,
using them.
yeah, makes sense. All right, that's just my.
That was basically being told to you that may not have a bus.
There were times when we didn't have buses available to us. There was one time where there wasn't going to be a bus available to us, and there was 3 people that were mini buses, and it was a big fiasco, and they said, Jen, you've got to ask for a bus. We just can't keep doing this. There's just no way. I had 50 kids waiting to go to a corn maze, and we ended up having to shuttle them back and forth. That was the year before we got our bus.
So there is a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the Parks and Rec bus reserve, $5,000. All opposed? 1, 4 in favor and 1 opposed. Motion carries.
That's why we're glad you're here tonight, man. Spend some time.
All right. Next item is the Kennebunk Free Library for $15,000, and Todd gave us a letter
Yes.
from the Kennebunk Free Library, Joe LeMay.
And it's their request to justification for that request. Last year, I did indicate to you that it would go to $13,000 this year. Per that letter is why the request increased.
Say that again?
Increased. Last year, they had said we're asking for $12,000 this year. Next year, we'll ask for $13,000. They had given us that ahead of time. That increased because of the request there in the letter.
And So it says 852, there's 852 library cards.
Yes.
He doesn't.
How many people, did you get the question answered about how many people were actively using the library?
And actually, I did request that from her in an email. She said she would try to determine that, but didn't believe her software could break it down that much. And I did notice, I have a library card at the library, and they only write it in the book. So there's no way for their software to account for how many times people are using the card. So they may be just getting the card and not using them, they may be using them on a weekly or a daily basis, we don't know that.
But we have 852.
Card holders.
Card
Do you have the letter, Velma?
No, but I
Okay.
have, you gave me the number. I have the number.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, thank you.
If I may ask, what has the selectmen recommended?
Nothing yet. They're waiting for the budget board.
How much is it, if a resident wanted to go and get a library card, how much is the library card?
$35, I believe.
Isn't it for a family of 4, correct?
$35 for a family, yes. And I'll let you do the math, Melanie. So I see you poking away at your telephone. I know you're not calling anybody, so.
Is it $35?
She's going to from.
Yeah, for phone friend.
Let the phone.
Yeah, that comes to 29,020 if we were to cover. If all of them had a card and it was a family of 4. But the fees vary, right?
No, not that I'm aware of. I think the fee is a flat fee, if we're not a member.
Are you online?
I could be. If it is allowable. And what is it you'd like to know?
Just the Kennebunk Free Library fees posted on their website.
Credit card. Resident, non-resident. $35 for a year or $20 for 3 months.
That's it.
That's it, that's all it
That's all
says
we
for
have.
fees.
That stinks.
Trivia night is tonight. Go ahead.
Am I missing it?
Yeah.
29,820. I guess I'll ask for a motion to approve the Kennebunk Free Library for $15,000.
I will move to approve the Kennebunk Free Library for $13,000.
For how much?
13.
13,000.
Isn't that what it was proposed? Oh,
15.
15. I'll move for 50.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the Kennebunk Free Library for $15,000? All those opposed? Failed.
Geez, I'll get back to what we said a couple of years ago here. Why do we have to pay for a free library?
You can find out if you make a motion, right?
This thing here says, great bargain for the town at only $3.75 per resident. Now, does that include all the kids in town, all the adults, all the old people? Does that include everyone in town?
I'm assuming, let me do the math right, but I'm assuming she's taking all 4,022 people in town. $3.72. It's every single resident of the town, yes.
Take a vote from the people in town, see how many want to pay that. You're not gonna find too many, you might find anywhere 10, maybe 15%. And they're gonna be all young people who probably use the library. You know,
21%.
get back to the same thing. Why
I
don't,
think if anything, Ray, you find that the young people are getting what they need over the internet. I think you'll find most of the people who do use the library are probably the older set who aren't quite as tuned into their personal computers as the kids are.
eh,
I've actually spoken to quite a few people, variety of ages, and they don't want to do it, not after what happened a couple of years ago at town meeting. So I think it's,
Well, the vote has failed. Move along to the next item.
yeah. And Todd added a library user scholarship.
I'm sorry, Melanie, the heading is incorrect in the spreadsheet. It didn't update to my summary, but it updated on the reserves and debt page. That should say Kennebunkport Arundel Chamber of Commerce.
That's what I thought, okay. Just
What is this you're talking about?
The line, John, that says library user scholarship account for $2,000, that should actually say the Kennebunkport Arundel Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, okay.
On my reserves and debt page, it updated it. Actually, if you flip to the very last page in the packet I put on your desk, it does say KKA Chamber of Commerce request.
On the last page?
Yep, right here. It's the same reserves and debt, it's just, it filters into the
Oh,
spreadsheet, and I
okay.
forgot to fix the summary page.
Yeah.
So it is for the Kennebunkport Arundel Chamber of Commerce, and on the back page of the request from the library, if you flip that, there's the request from the chamber.
As long as we're not, putting anything to the free library.
So $2,000 is their request.
I'll make a motion that we accept the $2,000 for the Kennebunkport Arundel Chamber of Commerce for $2,000.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion?
yeah, what's this gonna get us?
It gets publicity for the town. They'll work with the Economic Development Committee to try to promote local businesses. Gets advertising on their website, gets our businesses to be more noticeable. They've been doing business after hours, and it pretty much helps to fund all of the programs that the chamber provides. It's a typical funding mechanism for most chambers for towns to give a small portion to the chamber to help promote business.
Any more discussion? Comment? All those in favor? All those opposed? 1.
I'm sorry, was that a 4-1 or?
4 to
4-0.
0.
Ray's gonna abstain.
Ray's abstaining.
Right to a curveball.
All right, police protection.
That's decreased because we are finished paying for the cruiser, but the cruiser still runs. So we're going to keep that cruiser on the road.
Who was it that was here before Deputy Schumer?
Chris Road.
If he was here, we could get a new cruiser.
Right.
I'm teasing. Yeah, that's for 40 hours a week.
Yes, it is. And we also, we end up averaging out more than 40 hours a week because we allow the sheriff's department to use town hall as a substation during weekends or when it's closed, and there's a lot of times when there's more than 40 hours a week being spent here in Arundel.
What exactly does this guy do for us?
He runs radar on Hill Road.
Yeah,
Pulled
he's,
over a number of people right in front of my house for speed, which I'm glad to see because there's a lot of speed.
That's the easy stuff.
he's,
What exactly does he do to fight crime over here?
Well, actually, I may have may. Some statistics.
Actually, I think Running Radar does a lot as far as crime fighting goes, because we had one vehicle, sounded like he had a jet engine in that vehicle, that went by our house every night, because we were on a straight stretch, about 7:10 or 8. He must have got out of work at either 7 or 8. And he was going like a bat. And I happened to see Troy one day, and I mentioned it to him. And
We took care of
we
it.
heard it for a couple more times, and then, I don't know if the guy blew his engine, or if he blew by Troy, and Troy got him, but we didn't have that anymore.
Well, I have seen them pull people over,
Yeah.
but that's not really what I'm getting at.
Can I enlighten you?
Yeah,
These are
sure.
2012 statistics. I don't have last year's.
I don't think I do, yeah.
They probably normally hand those out.
At town
At
meeting.
town meeting.
Usually we have them for this meeting. There were over 2,200 calls for service. And all of their calls, all reasons, I think every single one of them has had a call. And it ranges from an abandoned motor vehicle, silver complaints, burglaries, brush fires, animal, what did I say? I saw something about animal complaint, domestic abuse is on there. There's actually, in 2012, there was 45 calls for domestic disturbance. And I can say that is a two-man guy job, if it's a domestic, and they usually send just one. So the deputy who's going on those calls is already in harm's way, because you just don't know. There's been a foot patrol, let's see, juvenile runaways, 8 juvenile offenses. There was 3 of those. This is just from 2012.
How many accidents?
Several accidents.
Yeah.
And there's a considerable
What we-
difference in response time when
Motor
he's on
vehicle-
duty and when he's not.
Yeah, 236 motor vehicle stops. Prowlers. Stolen vehicles, there was 12 stolen vehicles in 2012. Terrorizing and threatening, 20 calls. Trespassing, 8. Vandalism, 25. Welfare checks, there was 32. So they do a variety of complaints. And that's just not, I mean, I'm just reading through, listing a few.
I know they have a variety of complaints, but you also have to understand that when you call the sheriff's department and you got something legitimate, that you know what happened, you know who did it, you tell them who did it, you tell them where to go, and they don't do shit. They don't go ask questions, they don't go investigate, they don't look around, they do nothing. They take your report, and that is the end of it.
I don't think that's.
Oh, yes, I do. I do. I know that. I know so.
In one instance, Ray, I will say that unfortunately the person who was dealt with like that was while our deputy was on vacation, because that wouldn't have been handled that way had he been on and been the one investigating. They just caught 2, our local deputy just caught 2 of the burglars that were doing break-ins in Falmouth, who actually happened to reside in Arundel. He does a lot of detective work. He does solve a lot of break-ins. Unfortunately, some of them aren't handled as well as they should be. I can say that in no uncertain
You know,
terms.
I'm just lucky. Okay,
Yeah.
I've been where I'm at for, oh crap, 30 years,
Yeah.
and I've only had 3 things stolen. And 2 of them have been in the last 6 months. I reported both of them,
Nothing.
and I haven't heard a word from anyone. Nobody has even called about it.
Well, why don't you call him back?
Huh?
Why don't you call him?
I do. I get to run around.
Did you ask has to speak to a supervisor.
I
It
do.
doesn't change. I would.
And he said, oh, I will talk to him, and that's the last I hear, but until I call him again. You know, it's, I don't see why we pay this kind of money for police protection when they're not even protecting us.
Well, they're protecting everybody when they're on, and if they're not on, they always send somebody that is on. So,
And if something is happening at your house, check how much time it takes them to get there. You know, if something is really dangerous happening in your house, you're either gonna have to kill somebody, you're gonna have to beat somebody, or you're gonna get killed yourself. Because they're slow.
Well, there's two alternatives, right? We can either pay a lot more money and have more cops in town, or we can not approve this and have absolutely no coverage at all.
Well, if you have more cops in town, you're gonna run into the same thing.
So you don't want to go that
They're
way.
gonna be at Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay, so.
we don't have a Dunkin' Donuts.
No, we don't do.
We don't even have a Roma Joe's.
Anyway, that's where, that's my, thoughts on this whole darn thing. I just don't, I don't see a use for it. He's useless.
I'll move to approve the police protection for $84,500.
I will second that.
Okay, motions are made and seconded for $84,500. Is there discussion? More discussion? No? All right. What?
I'm just loving the way you said more discussion. Sorry, Melanie.
Okay, pick on the
I'm
chair.
drunk
Pick
tonight.
on me. All right. All those in favor of police protection for $84,500? All those opposed? That's 4-1. Motion carries. You're very consistent, right?
Yes.
I try. If it wasn't for me, you guys would have no fun at all.
Oh, goodness. Okay, volunteer fire EMT compensation, $43,522. It's for stipends and hourly compensation for emergency personnel. And
I'll make a motion that we accept for the $43,522 for volunteer fire EMT compensation.
And a second.
What?
I will second.
You just got me to look up too. All right.
Okay.
Hey, when you have a fire at your house, who's gonna come?
Exactly.
Not the sheriff.
Well, he may, but he's gonna park in the driveway. Get a truck in.
actually, the sheriff does. He went to, does go to fire calls. All right. I'm sorry. And that number has not gone up.
It has
from
not.
Last year.
No, it has not, nor has the next number.
All those in favor? And Dave is going to abstain, so the motion passes. Rescue per diem funds, $264,284. It's for 24/7 per diem fire rescue coverage.
I said that's correct.
I was just filling in where you usually chime in.
You get better,
You
so
were
I'm
getting
just sitting
slow.
here. You're doing really? No, I'm intentionally seeing what's going to happen if I keep my mouth shut. Things happen faster when I quiet down.
Sounds good to me.
You know, they stopped talking. I'd like to make a motion to approve the $264,284.
I'll second that for the rescue per diem funds. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of $264,284 for the rescue per diem? And Dave is abstaining again. Sean, I didn't see.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's 4 in favor and 1 abstain. And we have
One item left. Oh, 2 items.
the EDC branding study.
Yeah, if you flip the page once again, my spreadsheet didn't upload. There was a request at the last EDC meeting by Selectman Neno, because of opening events that the EDC may do for businesses, mailings that the EDC is going to work on a welcome packet for doing business in Arundel, miscellaneous dues for the planner or members of the EDC to participate in regional groups, that EDC-related groups. The request was made for $1,000 to be appropriated in the event that the EDC needs funds to spend on these kind of dues and activities.
Do we still want to leave that labeled as EDC branding study?
No, if you, I've marked it out. If you go to the next page, it's called the EDC expense account, and it's for EDC business promotion activities, and I'm going to update my summary spreadsheet that didn't get updated.
I guess my question would be that contingency fund for the selectmen, those monies couldn't be used for that, is that why?
But they could if the selectmen decided to use it, yes.
And how much do we use, have we used?
Nothing yet.
For how many years have we not used?
Oh, wait, you mean for the contingency?
Yeah,
Typically, the contingency is used,
all of it?
not all of it, but a fair amount of it. I don't believe I have my most recent actuals. I do have my most recent actuals, but it doesn't break it down specifically enough, so I can't give you a...
I have the,
Oh, right here. No, still not. We have the actuals, but it only gives you the entire line actual only. And so I can't break it out any further. I can tell you what we have done this year as of February. Selectmen contingency.
what number is that? You know?
It is 1101 5007. So far this year, we've expended $1,098 of the $2,000 that was allocated.
Is it 2,000 or 20,000?
2,000. This is the line in the selectmen's. There's also a miscellaneous contingency. That is for unfunded liabilities such as when people leave and we owe them vacation time. There's not enough money in the expense account for the salaries. Then that's separate, and that's under, if you go to capital outlay, so it's 1404 5001. And that is, the definition of that account is for use as the support selectmen see fit. If there's an emergency that comes up, if we go over legal budget accidentally, or something happens and we have to spend more than the 20,000, that's where we get those funds from.
Right, well, it's 10,000.
Yes, it's 10,000.
It used to be 20.
It did, and those get,
That's what I'm getting at.
that is an actual reserve account, so if the selectmen don't spend it, it goes into the capital reserve contingency capital reserve, which currently has,
Oh, yes, I have that.
you just had it there too.
Gotta get it. Contingency capital reserve is $20,510.81.
So that's what that one is for. Vacation accruals that need to get paid out, any kind of unseen, unanticipated expense.
I think it's a really good idea to do that, and I think because we've moved a lot because of Jack's job, but everywhere we've moved, we bought a house or whatever, wherever we were at, they always sent us a welcoming packet, local businesses, and maybe some coupons, like an address book, and things like that.
Those are some of the things that they want.
So we're just gonna do it for businesses?
Well, no, it would, the EDC's focus would be for bringing businesses here, but I'd say it, under the same token, we could use it as a way to advertise the businesses that are here when we move to town. I mean, it'd be very reciprocal. It'd be easy to take that data, reverse it, and send it to the residents, and then send the other data off to the businesses. So something could be done.
That's just my thought.
No, and if it gets appropriated, we'll see how that, works out. And we'll be able to enter that into a line item like should it be funded initially.
Where's the planning board at about changing some of the ordinances?
They're hoping to be at town meeting for DB1, DB2, Gateway District. 4 or 5 of the zones should be ready for town meeting for a proposal to be changed. And how quickly they can wrap up the language. Every time they talk about it, something changes.
I'd like to move that we approve the EDC expense account for $1,000.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? Are you leaving? Are you coming up? Okay, all those in favor of the EDC expense account for $1,000? And it's unanimous. All right. So, actual total for reserves and debt is $15,000 plus.
Yes, so 950, 306, 306. And then we have revenue. Revenue is the best guesstimate. We went over. Where did I find revenue? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th page in. Right there. I would like to have them voted on in blocks, so taxes, then licenses and permits, then intergovernmental and service charges.
You just go with the bullet.
Yep, go by the bullet points. So the first one is that $680,000.
Right. Okay, so we have the taxes, excise, and road taxes for, proposal is $680,000 of revenue generated to the town.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept it for $680,000 for taxes.
Second.
Any discussion?
You think the excise tax is gonna increase that much?
Yeah, I do. It's been running right around there.
Okay.
This year, I think we're $84,000 shy of making the 640, and we pull in, June is the biggest month for auto registration, so I think we're on pace to do that.
Okay.
You're actually over. From what I have.
What month do you have?
February. Back in February, we were over.
No, we're not over yet. In February, we're 148 out there. Not the top number, that's, ignore those top 2 numbers. And then the excise tax is at 06 limit. That takes into consideration taxes, and because of the way it's done, the taxes are overstating, and so that
Right.
makes it deceiving. There's too much confusion.
Okay, so, it was motioned and second.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor of $680,000? Okay, Sean's waving.
I'll make sure that you see me.
I saw you, it's unanimous. Licenses and permits, 52,100, it's a slight increase from last year, 49,800.
Plumbing permits have been running above pace ever since I've been here, so.
I'll make a motion to approve 52,100 for licenses and permits.
Second.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. Intergovernmental, that's for $299,996. Very, very slight increase of 1,000 last year. Decrease. Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm doing, I'm used to doing the
You'll have
other.
an increase next year.
This is money coming in. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My bad.
What happened with the veterans tax homestead exemption?
The homestead exemption typically wasn't budgeted for in the past, before I got here, and in the past it was kind of an unknown where that was don't know if you want to call it a slush fund, but it was just an accounting line that you didn't actually appropriate to, and that allowed the general fund to be replenished. But with the uncertainty of revenue sharing this year, I've been kind of trying to use more historical numbers, and so that's why there was that much of an increase there, because we get about $64,000 a year in the homestead exemption. And then I decreased revenue sharing by $71,000 because that's what they voted this year, and that's what we're supposed to be getting. Yeah, well, they voted so that they're taking it out of the rainy day fund, whether or not they can afford to give it to us or not. And my take, I think you were all here, that my take is if I don't appropriate it, then the legislature can say you're not budgeting for it anyway, so why do you need it? And I'm going to say I'm budgeting for it, and yes, I do need it. So.
Make a motion to accept the $299,996 for intergovernmental.
I'll second that.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, service charges.
Service charges, you'll see not any major changes. The big change you will find is ambulance is an additional $20,000. I'm not even certain if that's going to reflect the entirety of the bundling that we've recently changed over to from the a la carte menu of services. It was indicated to us by our billing company that by going to the bundled service fee, we'll collect better percentages of our billing. So that's an increase of $21,000.
What is an LUOBD SUV book?
Land use ordinance, BD, building diagram, maybe?
Okay.
It says LUO subbook.
LUOBD subbooks.
LUO subbook. On this one.
On that one, yeah, it's if somebody buys an ordinance book or any kind of, if they come in and they're looking for a specific section of an ordinance, things like that, that gets where that revenue comes from. We don't sell a lot of the ordinance books now that we put them online, so it used to be pretty good. We used to get $50 a copy, I think, here, and that just doesn't happen anymore. So what happens is people come in and ask for, DD1, and we'll charge them 50 cents a page, and that's what gets applied there.
Yeah, you have 100 and you didn't have anyone collected any yet.
Now, we collected some since the one you see there, that's February.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find out though, John, what BDSUB means.
Aren't you supposed to be the smart one?
I don't know what all the abbreviations are though.
Hey, Google.
I got some ideas, but I won't.
Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the $303,725.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. Miscellaneous
And
expenses for $270,000.
Decreased, because of the increase in revenue sharing, well, it's a decrease in that revenue sharing, but because of the increase in what I initially thought revenue sharing was going to be, plus the increase in the homestead exemptions, I've been able to reduce the use of the undesignated fund by $50,000 this year, which isn't as great as I'd like to, but I'm also being cognizant of the fact that people want their taxes to stay relatively functional. So I would like to continue attempting to wean off that use of the undesignated fund balance so they can be applied towards more tangible assets such as a town hall when the time should come. So this year I'm proposing that $270 be used in the miscellaneous account. As of today, I'm just going to give you a ballpark. The undesignated fund is approximately $2 million and some change.
How much do we need to keep in there? For Harper County?
2 million.
1.2 million.
There's a formula, I can do the formula for you, Melanie, and send you the exact number, but it's somewhere in that ballpark. And revenues will increase by $6,000, $5,000.
Right. I'm just thinking, maybe we should be using a little bit more because of the RSU 21 building renovations and the extra added increase.
Well, unfortunately, that hasn't passed.
We applying them in November. It's, you know, I mean, I don't know, we paid it, so, I don't know, I just think we probably should. That's
If
what
it
I'm-
passes in November,
Yep.
we won't get billed until
Next fiscal.
next fiscal year. So we won't even have anything due until the next fiscal year. But the RSU budget, I gave Todd a copy of what was proposed.
It's a 5.23%.
A little over 5% increase.
On 39 million, right? Plus,
I don't know, I gave him my copy. I know that they have,
It's a 5.23% increase on, that was written here on the sheet that you gave me, Velma.
and they have increased maintenance, the maintenance budget. Because there are some projects that have got to be done. And then if that, what was question 2, that's coming back in June. And if that doesn't pass, then that amount will get added full to the proposal for November, without a grant and without an interest-free loan. That will just get added to. Those things have got to be
I
done.
know I read 5.23. but I
And if
don't
it
know
isn't
where I read
approved
it.
in June, we won't have, the RSU won't have enough time to use those funds because they're for life safety issues, and it's got to be used by June of end of June following year.
Oh, right here in front of me. I thought she had written it down.
5 point something, I think.
Arundel.
here's 1.25%. And is our change.
That's the whole
It says
budget.
1.28%.
That's, the whole budget's going 5 point something. I don't know.
Percent change is 5.23 right here.
Yeah.
Fiscal year 14 for K through adult is
That's the
37
total.
million, the total budget.
Total budget.
And then you break it into the communities, and it's a 1.25% change to the taxpayer per $100,000 valuation in Arundel.
Right. So ours would be 1.25, Kenny Bus would be 0.8.
Yep, and
And
the
Kenny
ports.
Bus Port 2.98.
Yep, and let's see, so for fiscal year 14, the budget was $1,450 per 100,000 for education. Fiscal year 15, it would be $1,468, so an $18 increase for a $100,000 house.
Say that again? What was the increase for that?
$18 for a $100,000 home.
All right.
Much better than when I read it the first time. It's amazing how when I read it the right way,
And when you put,
I just see it and go, and then I calm down and read it again.
and the bottom line for the town budget,
The bottom line for the town budget?
Yeah.
As proposed is $2,003,338 for the operating budget, and then $950,000 for reserves and debt. And I'll give you that
what does
total.
that do from last year?
I will tell you that. It.
It's an increase of about 70,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to finalize all of this what the budget board has done, and then bring that to the selectmen at our next meeting.
Yes. I knew I had it somewhere, already calculated for me. So, as proposed and approved, it will go from, it was at 2,966,000 to 2,966,644 minus $15,000. $2,951,644. And we will take away from that $2,884,834, $66,810 increase. Divided by 2,434 gives us about a 2.3% increase.
Unless we take more out of reserves.
That's correct.
I'm going to make a motion to, for the interest income, that'll be 10,000, and to increase the town as undesignated fund balance to 330,000, bringing the total article to $340,000.
Sorry, say that again?
Right, increase the undesignated fund balance, $70,000, bringing the total to $330,000. The article total would be $340,000.
And what's your reason for that, Melanie?
Well, sorry, Todd.
So, don't be.
I don't think that our undesignated fund should be used for funding for a town hall. I think it should be put, that's one of my reasons. The other being is that we've paid them, and I think we should be able to get
I'm sorry, I
some.
couldn't hear you.
We've paid our taxes, and it's just going into an undesignated fund account, whether or not we've used the allocated monies or not. And I think we should be giving it back to the taxpayers, just based on the premise that, every single year we're going to get an increase of tax, and it's not the town's doing. It's the RSU portion of our, budgets in the prior years. I know that there's increases this year, but I think we should be giving some of that back to our townspeople. The economic climate is poor. Gas prices are rising. Food prices are rising. I don't know,
Heating prices are
I'm sorry?
Heating.
Everything is on the rise, and I don't foresee that changing. And, some people are scraping by, and you just did some foreclosures recently at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. I think it's a fair and reasonable thing to do. It's $20,000 more than what we did last year. I think it's fair. I really do.
So you're proposing to increase that to what amount?
330
330.
for the use of undesignated.
Because last year we used 310.
Yes, yes, you're right. The article total was 320. It's $20,000 more.
Is
there a second? Is there another motion?
That would also offset that increase so that it would keep the town portion steady.
But keeping in mind, though, that with that $66,000 increase, that's all else remaining constant. We're looking at increased valuation in the town for this fiscal year. So I believe that increased valuation in the town will offset that $66,000 increase. Just my 2 cents. Didn't hear a second on that.
No, there wasn't. I'm going to make another motion for the, to use last year's figures of $320,000. There are seconds. Somebody's got to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion for $270,000 for miscellaneous.
I'll second that.
Okay, and what's your reasoning behind that, Mr. Davis? That's my question.
I can answer it.
I want to hear it from
As much as your intents and purposes are, I just don't think $70,000 over the whole scope is really going to be making much of an effect. But Todd's the one that put this together. He has an idea that the valuation is going to be going up. That should be more coming in.
Is that due to Kate's butter?
But
Due to a lot of things, not just Kate's butter. No, not due to Kate's butter because, Kate's butter can be in there now, not CMP. Kate's butter can be. There's a lot of new houses in town. We've gotten some considerable valuations. I'll let Sean know.
but I don't think that we need to keep on taking money out of the undesignated. There's a formula that Todd states, on what we should carry.
Yeah, and he says it's 1.2, so we have 0.8 extra million just on the side.
Right. If something else happens, I mean, we need to keep that additional buffer in there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to see a town hall. I know a lot of people that I've spoken to don't want a new town hall, but I think it's necessary. But I don't think we should be using the undesignated fund as a savings account for funding town hall. I think
That's not really what I meant, but yeah, that's what I said, so, yes.
Are we still putting money away for the town hall?
We haven't
we have
in
to.
the last few years.
Wow.
Because I was told last year that we aren't using it, so let's hold off until we have to bond it. And then we can have a more equal payment and it won't be as sporadic. There is some money in there,
Yeah.
and
$87,632.
300.
371. Did I read it backwards?
I only heard you say 87. About years, I think.
I think they are $156,371.
But that's fire
Am I reading
department.
it right?
Nope, that's fire department. The top line, municipal building, $378,786.43.
Considering that the town right now has
You're right.
no debt, if we have to, just for town hall, that's, considering the state of a lot of the towns that are heavily in debt, I think we can do the 270.
All right, so that would bring the article total to $280,000. And it was,
No,
No, he needs,
total miscellaneous 270,000.
just the 270,000.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And it was it second, who seconded the motion?
Yep.
John?
Yep.
All right, is there any more discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor? It's unanimous.
I want to thank you all very much for this wonderful budget season. Please, all take out, there's going to be a test. Take out your nomination papers, because I would like to have you all back. I'd like all of you to be elected. Ray says he won't do it. I heard Melanie say she won't do it. Dave, you like it so much, you might as well be elected. John's going to be elected. John, I'll drop the papers off to your house for you. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, more the merrier. Are we really,
I think we'd have more of a turnout if we actually, said that during the budget board when we convene, there'll be pizza here.
pizza and beer?
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
Is there a
beer's just understood.
motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?